So, Highland Grimes Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with.
Hey, it's Alex from Culture Wars.
I have some questions to say about their new single, "It Hurts." So, congrats on that. By the way, how do you feel about the response to it so far?
Thank you. Well, it's been good. Just every time we put out a new song, it keeps kind of compounding upwards. So it's good to see kind of a continued and growing response as
Hell
we
yeah!
keep finding new people. So
Hell
Yeah,
yeah!
for
Well,
sure.
the single fucking rocks. I've been digging all of the singles so far.
Yeah, track is
thank you,
incredible. Yeah,
thank you, thank you.
Hell
of
yeah!
course. So, is there any meaning behind the single title or cover art?
The cover art is really just David, our buddy Moyo. Just put together this really cool shot when we were
Mhm.
shooting the video for that, and we were like, well, there you go. There's the single cover.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So that was pretty straightforward and easy.
that's fair.
In terms of the song itself and the meaning, a lot of the times when I'm working on stuff, I just kind of will, in this case, I was just playing it for the chorus. I was playing an acoustic guitar,
Hmm.
and I was just singing that anyway.
Hmm.
Some of the words were different at the time, but the general meaning was it was switched around, once we got in the studio. But the general meaning was kind of about this, like, woman drunk at a bar, looking for her second marriage, like at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and it kind of
Hmm.
just went from there.
Damn,
Gotcha. Makes sense.
wonderful.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this track?
Yeah, for this one, yeah, again, it started with the acoustic guitar kind of chorus, and that's all I had.
Hmm.
And Caleb and I were, working together, and when we're writing, I just kind of was like, well, I've got these four ideas or these five ideas, and I just kind of let him gravitate towards what he thinks is the coolest, and then we'll start there. And in this case, he was like, well, I really like that. So we started with that, and then him and I built out the verse and the rest of the song together.
Hmm.
Just kind of starting to like make a demo on his computer. And then once we have some sort of structure, all the rest of the guys will come in and they'll all individually kind of develop their own parts once there's like just a basic song.
Hmm.
Um, and then from there, that's really where it kind of takes life, before it's really just me and an acoustic guitar, or me and a electric guitar, or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
we try to really focus on every song, song first. Don't get too carried away in like making a track and then being like,
Hmm.
oh, the track's so cool, but then the singing sucks or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So the ideas just in general start out with you. They're brought to another member. You two, expand on it, and then it goes to the full band, and everybody's ideas are brought in.
Yeah, typically.
Gotcha.
It really depends. I mean, there's only a couple cases where the track existed before what I did.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, Miley would be a version of that where the track existed before me.
Hmm.
And the next single in the new year would pretty much be an example of a track existing before me, but that track's very bare bones. It was really just two guitar parts that I then sang to, that then
Hmm.
everything became very obvious. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, that's typically
Gotcha.
the yeah.
Is there a process that you prefer in particular, like being the one where the idea is kind of created in its infancy, or having a track to kind of build off of to kind of jumpstart your idea?
It's just two different ways of working. I think when there's a track already and everyone really likes it, the pressure of that is kind of harder.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I don't really care if it's harder as long as we get a good song. Like as long as it's good, I don't care how we get there. But I would say just from my perspective, it is tougher when there's a track and everybody's like really into it. And then it's like, all right, come up with something great to like live up to this. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh.
No, I get that. I get that.
Completely fair.
Now, you guys have a handful of singles out already that are on an upcoming debut album coming out in 2025. I'm curious,
Mhm.
of those singles that are out so far, is there a song that took the longest, like, to come together in total?
That's a good question. I would think, well, the fastest would be Slowly or It Hurts. Those are the two fastest. So it's not
Mhm.
that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, Miley, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
Miley. Because originally it was kind of a lot more electronic, and the chorus was more kind of like the whole song was like very one dynamic,
Mhm.
and we kind of pushed it and pulled it, and we're like, and so the ba da ba da ba da ba ba, kind of the chorus was our response to kind of breaking that up
Mhm.
Mhm.
and giving it a little more dynamic stuff, so that you're not just like listening to the same thing, which works in
Yeah.
certain genres, but for us it was like, needs a little something. But that took a couple months before we got to that point.
Gotcha. Makes
Solid.
sense.
Wonderful. So I want you to tell us your favorite lyric off this track and what it means to you.
Mm. Probably off the new single, off It Hurts. I just had more fun with that one.
Mhm.
It's good.
I always enjoy things where it kind of makes me laugh at least.
Mhm.
Um, like the opening of that song, it was the sipping all the finest wine with money that you probably had to borrow. I just thought that was really funny.
That's good.
When I was just imagining like a divorcee living well beyond her means, upset, kind of buying like really expensive wine, like expecting someone to kind of show up and pay the bill, but never knowing anyone doing it. And I just was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
good.
that.
Hell yeah,
That's
love
good.
it. So where was your headspace at while you were creating this track?
This track,
Mhm.
I think it was kind of like I was raised kind of Buddhist, so anytime my mind is just blank is usually good.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I wasn't really thinking anything. I just was kind of walking around my room with a guitar. Just, you have to kind of cast the fishing line every day to get somewhere.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then as soon as I had the chorus, I just went, oh, okay. And then I just like recorded it. And so
Mhm.
that was cool. And in terms of like finishing the song, I think, we were listening to a lot of, 90s music, which is how we grew up. And so that kind of bleeds through there. I think the references we sometimes make just of like what we were listening to is like, I mean, we were listening to like country music at certain points. I think I was listening to like U2's like All That You Can't Leave Behind.
Ah.
The
Mhm.
the guys and myself were listening to like Third Eye Blind's first record. I mean, there's things like that kind of bleeding around.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, so that's definitely where our heads were at with that. But I think in general, what we wanted to continue doing with the album, Miley being the furthest away from this, but uh, just having a record that's the band playing their instruments organically, doing all our own stuff,
Mhm.
not leaning on any tricks or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's really just a continuation of that, of just letting everybody do what they do best.
absolutely.
Gotcha.
When you guys are working on a record, like you're in the studio, are you guys the kind of band that will continue to listen to music? Because I know there's some bands that have to like shy away because like those start to become very apparent in the music, those influences, and you're basically like those bands will just start writing what they're listening
Mhm.
to.
No, I mean we're pretty good about that. I
Mhm.
think we all listen to very different music.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And each of us are into very different things. I don't think it's like the band is all into certain, I don't know that we could agree on a whole hell of a lot other than our own stuff. And even then, but so I don't, even if I played something that I liked for David, right,
Mhm.
as an example, or Dylan, they probably wouldn't be that inspired by it. So it would kind of just, it put them in a headspace, but it wouldn't necessarily take them anywhere.
Gotcha.
So
Mhm.
we don't really, I wouldn't say that we have that problem. But typically in the studio anyway, like Caleb will put on like Travis Scott or something anyway. So we're not really listening to rock bands half the time.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes
Gotcha.
sense.
And you've kind of already mentioned the concept of this song a couple times throughout the interview already. And I'm just so curious of when that story kind of came into play. Was it something that you guys witnessed and you were like, let's write about that? Or as you were writing it, it just kind of formed together?
It just kind of formed together. I don't think it was intentional. Being in LA a lot. I mean, and kind of being in these places like the Beverly Hills Hotel and like the Chateau, like you see all sorts of weird stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
funny. And you just, I think, maybe you see it a year before and just kind of clock it, and then it just kind of comes back later. So it wasn't like a direct, like I came back home that night and I was like, I'm gonna write a song about this girl. It was just like,
Yeah, yeah.
it was just something that happened. I was like, oh, that's funny. And then it just kind of, went that way.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
gotcha. Sounds good. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this track for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
Energetic, rock, organic. I don't know.
I
Those are
don't know.
good.
All right, you solid? You confident in that?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
All
Let
right.
it slide.
And in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through this track?
No, I mean, this is kind of a long-winded answer, but I always like to let people just kind of experience it themselves and not necessarily guide anybody in any direction. I mean, I think there's a lot of energy to the song, and if it gets them hyped, then great. But I wouldn't necessarily want to lead anybody, you know.
Yeah, as long
Yeah.
as they're feeling something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
hmm So, what is your favorite memory that you made while creating this track?
I think, you know, now that we've moved over to Sunset Sound, um, you know, it's a great recording studio and it's been a lot of fun working there. You know, we did all the drums in I think it's Studio 2 technically is the number. It's like the best, you know, drum and instrument room. And then I did all the vocals in Studio 3, which is the old, well, originally the room was put together for Janis Joplin, and then later Prince took it over for a couple years, and that was
Yeah.
his main studio.
hmm
And it's the vibiest room ever, of course,
Gonna
because it's
say,
Prince's
yeah,
room.
it's fucking Prince.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's I think just being in there, I mean, most of the vocals were redone in that room because it just came off so well. So I think being able to work in that room for me was fun. Yeah.
For sure.
That's so
Definitely
fucking
gets you
awesome.
in the mood. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as we've mentioned throughout the interview, you guys have an album upcoming in 2025. What can you tell us about it? Spill the beans.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that it's really a continuation of what we've been doing. You know, it's you know, an organic rock band playing all our instruments. We did everything ourselves. We didn't bring in a team of writers to help us come up with it. I mean, we've been working at writing and developing and being a band for gosh, David and I have been together for 11 years, the
Mhm.
drummers. So
Yeah.
you know, this is our first album, and it's the culmination of everything we've been working towards for a decade. You know, having said that, you know, probably one of the best songs on the album isn't even out yet, and it comes out next. You know, and now that we've done this major tour, well, tours, you know, going through Asia and Australia, playing
hmm
arenas and stadiums, I think we learned a lot, and it's gotten us to a place where we're looking at it and we're going, well, hold on, we've learned a lot in playing live. We've learned what not playing live, but playing to larger audiences because we've been playing live forever. But
Mhm.
we've kind of got some better information on what works and what doesn't, and you kind of you play your stuff and you go, well, hold on, that didn't work. And so it's caused us to reevaluate the like 9, 10, and 11 songs on the album. So that's what we're doing now. Um, but yeah, you know, I think the best is yet to come, which is kind of funny. But because at the time we thought the best was at the beginning, and you know, but that's just the thing. I mean, we keep working and trying to get better, and hopefully, you know, we are.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, you can only do the debut album once, so there's no sense in rushing it if you've got the time
Right.
and the team's
Yeah.
okay with you taking a second to like reevaluate.
hmm
Yeah, you only get to do it once, and once you put out an album, I mean, you're stuck touring that thing. So
Yeah.
if you don't
Yeah.
like something, better get over it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Shit.
Now you mentioned like obviously you guys just finished up touring in stadiums and arenas over in Asia and Australia. Is there a difference in headspace, like hitting a stage that big versus playing like a club show for you guys? A different kind of headspace or same?
Well, we'll find out. You know, I think we have our first non-arena show
hmm
coming up next week. But I would imagine it. You know, there's two levels of it. There's, you know, it's like, oh, you could take it as, you know, oh, well, now we're doing this or whatever. I mean, honestly, for us, it's all growth, and if anything, we're more prepared for these shows than we've ever. Like any show we play now, it's like, oh, we got this. Like it's not. You
hmm
just nothing's intimidating anymore, you
There you
know.
go.
So that's helpful. I think that's kind of our headspace. It's just like, all right, let's do it. Like, cool.
hmm
You know, we don't need, you know, we rehearse a lot anyway, but I think everyone's like, yeah, I mean, we'll rehearse and but it's not like oh god we gotta play the set
Mhm.
4 times a day because who knows if we're gonna screw up. It's like we've been doing this for months. Like we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. You're going in. What is your snack of choice?
Like David's sunflower seeds kind of things probably. It's
Mhm.
just something to do because you get bored.
Yeah, for sure.
Just chewing on seeds pretty much. It's like an old baseball stay over from when I was a kid.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
a specific like flavor of sunflower seeds? I know they have like a shit ton.
Just like the original, or if you can find barbecue, but the
Yeah.
David's barbecue ones are good, but some of those gas station barbecue ones can be kind of synthetic.
Rank.
So
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, just
nasty.
depends where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Uh, maybe sushi, like a omakase. Different little bites.
Mhm.
That are all their own little thing.
Yeah,
Pairs best with sake.
there you go. Yeah, fuck yeah. Right. And for the last couple questions, we're actually gonna shift away from music if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Great. So we're actually gonna go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Probably sushi, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably like an omakase thing would probably be. I mean, that's kind of what I'm into right now.
Yeah.
Long story short, I have a lot of food allergies and like an autoimmune thing. So
Mhm.
I was allergic to fish from the ages of 18 until like 29, and
Yeah.
I'm 33 now. So I've been just making up for lost time eating a lot of fish. So that's kind
Fuck
of where
yeah.
that comes from.
I don't
Yeah.
blame you.
Good. Hell
And
yeah.
do you have a drink with that?
Yeah, just sake. Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
like a
Wonderful.
like a clean, crisp kind of one.
All
Yeah.
right. So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
Westworld.
Fuck yeah. What are you getting up to in there?
Probably playing Cowboys or something. I've been watching that. I've been rewatching that show on the last tour.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Solid. Fuck yeah. And I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question.
No
What is your
pressure.
favorite color?
My immediate thought was blue, but the album is all based around red, so it's probably the way to go.
Okay. I mean, if blue's your color,
Yeah.
own that shit, you know?
Blue's my color. The band answer is to represent them as red.
All right.
Okay. Gotcha.
So as Gloria said, that's all the questions you have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Mhm.
No, other than the band is called Culture Wars. Our new single is called It Hurts, and look out for the new single in the new year. And hope to see everybody in person soon.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you. So now it's been Alex from Culture Wars, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.